phase is a little bit worse, but this is a good matchup for it. So I will say that. I was going to build this up as potentially being the one time that Emo might have a really good laning phase. As we kick off game number 2 between Vox Esports and Cerberus. Anything weird with the runes? Are you noticing anything crazy? It's not that I don't like Annie taking like Ludens and going for like first strike and stuff like that, but I really want Predator Annie. Predator Annie is so devastating. What's up?
I like the idea of that. Predator Annie sounds really fun to me.
Yeah, that like before she got like the buffs recently, that was one of the most popular ways to play her because the trick was just like you go rocket belt with Predator and you just run at people, and that's all you did out of mid lane.
This could be dangerous. Ego's here.
What are we doing? Okay. Yeah, this is not it, Chief. This is not the play. And now he popped the ghost just so that he can continue auto-attacking away.
Oh, the Annie's here!
That's insane! The level 1 Annie! You have the stun readily available. The W came out. Punny's going to be incredibly low. He's going to heal. He's not quite going to get it, but they're going to get 2 kills for this. As Yato will pick up the second. They give up first blood, but Cerberus get 2.
I feel so unbelievably bad for Pun. This is so unfortunate for him, because he was ready to walk away. He did the right thing here as a top laner, just respecting the engage. Then he turned around, did everything to set up his team. Piado flashed in, and he still had to die at first blood. Doesn't get a single kill, spent his flash, his ghost, I should say, and is probably now teleporting back to lane. So he invested absolutely everything and walks away with no kill and getting killed first. I feel so bad for him, but of course it's still a good collapse for Cerberus, and Ego in game number 2 starts with a kill.
As does Yato, which is a great way to kind of kick things off. Again, the laning phase for the Annie can get kind of rough if the Syndra gets off the ground and gets some of the mana sustain, gets some of the first items.
This could be dangerous. Counter gank.
Exhaust immediately. That's going to be a dead Artemis and a really good first gank coming through from Tamrio, who had that kind of rough initial start. Rano P's going to go down as well. They hit the level 2 first. They did the right thing. But Tamrio, 1 camp into bottom lane. How do you think that that's ever going to show up? What a menace.
Yeah, this is just... I mean, the Observer was a little bit weird there. Ronopi, of course, flashed at them. He didn't run at them at Mach. Well, I don't know how much, but in the end, it's still a double kill for the side of Box, and finally a good start for their bot lane. After so many games where they try to focus bot lane, it seems to be their read that they have to give Slows a carry champion, a big presence on the map, and finally they get a good start into Artemis and Rono P, one of the most established, most long-standing lanes in the league, former champions. So that is certainly a promising side for the side of MB.
It is. Look at this, the range advantage kind of coming to light here for the Syndra over top of Annie. You can see Yato having lost a decent amount of health to kick off this laning phase. Also, there was a bit of poking for Pun there. I'm surprised Pun didn't try to take at least 1 or 2 camps, because Tamrio hasn't been to the top side, and likely it might not even be expecting Ego to go to the other side of the map. I kind of wanted Pun to just sit there and go, I'll just take your Gromp and your Blue and probably top Scuttle, and then you can have Wolves or something like that. And I would have been happy with that, because he had more than a stacked enough wave to make that work against Summoner. But here they are, bottom side of the map. You're going to hit a nasty hook around the wall. Going to get CC'd up is Zodiac. Artemis in a really rough position. He's going to get brought down as well. Can they trade for Zodiac? That is going to be Ego attempting to make something happen. He's going to be able to get that one.
No, don't turn into Nami.
What are we doing, man? Okay, maybe thought he could hit a bubble, hit a W, run through the minions, get away, but that was a strange decision.
That's just pure instinct, Rebel. That is when you play too much of Viego, and you know, hey, I always want to turn into the enemies, because of course I get my ult reset and so on, but before level 6, turning into Nami is not the play. You're stuck in Nami prison. Quite literally stuck in the body of Nami, and this mermaid was not going anywhere. So Ego chasing down the kill, that's fine. I think he dies anyway, even if he stays Viego, he probably dies anyway, but it's certainly not the play to go into Nami form, and level 2 Nami is just gonna die. No opportunity for her to get away there. And this is one of the best starts, one of the most proactive starts that Box has shown us so far. Maybe Cerberus has actually overstepped their welcome with this draft. They went a little bit funny, and it's not working out for them in the early game.
Yeah, it's a matter of, I think Tamrio really got a beat on this game and saying, like, okay, you can attack bottom side, top lane's not going to be super easy to gank, not going to be super beneficial, we're going to leave Pun on an island, right? And then it's like Yato is already going to be in a rough enough situation that it's hard to set anything up without flash. That, for Tamrio, he's trying to break a freeze for Summoner. I can appreciate that Ego is going to be here just to
wait a second.
They got so much damage on them, though. Can he get away from the Counter-Strike?
Tomrio?
That's that's going to be a massive play for Tomrio, but now he gets Lee Sin. Oh, wait, he got Jax. Never mind. I was like, okay, if he got Lee Sin, I think he's going to kill Sumner. Instead, it just was a 1-for-1 top laner for top laner. As the two junglers account for 6 kills in this game already away. That's an ultimate. Danny drops Tibbers on top of Emo. Let's see, can we get it dragged far enough? Can the W come out? I think Emo had already dumped it earlier on the wave, so it's not going to be anything too crazy.
But look at how Tomrio is... I have to assume it's just calling... Both of them calling for the aggression there, because that was really well played together. Top lane synergy between Summer and Tomrio actually looking like something, maybe even for the future for MBE. Play through top lane a little bit more. I wanted to see it earlier, and Tomrio with an amazing performance so far in the game. 3-1-3, 100% kill participation. This is the player I talked up at the start, and he's really looking impressive, in my opinion, even though the team is 0-7 in games. This is one of the better junglers in our league. He has been impressive almost every game, and giving him the opportunity to snowball the early game on this Lee Sin, first pick Lee Sin, by the way, is really working out for this team. I'm quite hyped now for his progression, even if they falter once again in the mid game, which is what we have to focus on, because that has been their weakest point of gameplay. This early game is more than promising.
Yeah, it's a position where Tomrio has done really, really good job kind of capping Ego's ability to impact the map very, very early, and has actually devastated 2 lanes. I said it, like Pun was crushing top lane, still is kind of crushing top lane with a 15 CS lead. That is a stun up on a Rano P. Tomrio wants to find him over top the wall, and he's going to be able to do so, although that was a great break on that Black's plant there from Rano P to make sure that Tomrio couldn't follow. But Tomrio has just been responding to all the pressure. He set bot wave onto a really, really good kind of start where you have the serrated Dirk ready for the Lucian Nami, so they really haven't been aggressed against in any capacity because it's difficult to actually make happen. Again, the Annie already is at a bit of a wave deficit against the Syndra, given the range advantage that she's at, and helped out the top lane as well. That's going to be the first engage into bottom side. It's not impacted by Tomrio, as Artemis is going to go, doesn't get hit by the bubble. Ego is kind of sprinting down towards bottom side, but it's not full engage yet.
Yeah, and you can see that the Nautilus from behind, even with Kalista alongside, is not going to win trades into Lucian army, especially if the Lucian is sitting on these many items and higher level than the enemy. Nautilus, after all those nerfs he got, even after he got a little bit of help from the most recent melee support patch, is just a pretty squishy champion. He's on a ward here. Tomrio could just execute him with Q, but he wants to go for the dragon.
Okay, interesting. We're playing back and forth, trying to find some sort of dragon. That's going to be an insta-kill onto Lee Sin. And now we're in a terrible position. Ego gets to pick up all that freestanding gold that was existing for this Lee Sin. Tomrio suddenly becomes an enemy of the state here for Cerberus Esports. And that was a fumble for Box.
What did Tomrio just do? I praised him. That was the biggest caster curse I've done all week, and I've cast so many games. My god, what did Tomrio just do? He just walked into 4 people and died.
Yeah, it feels like they could have turned and focused on the fight super heavily. We'll get a chance to look at that in the replay. But yeah, look at this. Like, it's like, okay, he just jumps into multiple people. No support. Slows is not close enough to put out damage. Ending up getting hooked on the other side is Zodiac. Like, what? The intention is to play for the fight here. Like, he definitely not playing for the dragon. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, there was no coordination whatsoever. And once again, we see this problem with MBE. Their team fighting is just a mess from start to finish, even earlier than normally in the game. There was no coordination whatsoever, no clear calling, no one had any idea what the others wanted to do, and we have another engage in the top lane.
Sumner just gets run down this time by Pun, and at that...
Pun, come on, Pun,
where you going, man? That's a Pun diff right there. There's nothing else to say about that one, as he just pops off right there, finally getting the support of Ego and not dying ahead of the rest of the play, as this is what they wanted from the Olaf lane. And it seems like in 2 minutes time, we went from a 1,500 gold lead here for Box Esports to now a Dragon, a 1,500 gold advantage for the side of Cerberus, and a Rift Herald now heading over.
Oh, Rebel, it hurts to watch so much. I wanted to see them be competitive, and now the game is just gonna be over in a few minutes. That's a good gank once again. It worked in the favor of MBE before, but now Pun is a little too tanky to burst him down, because all the earlier engagements in top lane were all about bursting Pun down as quickly as possible. And Olaf is actually kind of squishy in the early game, as we saw earlier. He doesn't really have that many great sustaining tools, because in the early game, getting sustain is not actually that valuable over just pure health, because you can't actually sustain if you die instantly if you get bursted. But now the Olaf is tanky enough to get to that stage where his Conqueror healing, his ultimate healing, will come into play, and suddenly he stays half HP and just runs them over with way too much damage. Now Pun is ahead, got 2 kills there. Look at the jungle, Ego once again with an amazing game after some fumbles.
Okay. Yato looked like he almost outright killed Slows right there. Wasn't quite able to close out the kill before the reinforcements had come in, but Slows was in a pretty rough situation there for a moment. As now Cerberus kind of moving into bottom side, they've got the Callista ready to go. Ego is coming in as well. Rado P, what are we doing? Rado P, okay, yeah, all right.
Another donation. Another donation to the Nautilus Death Fund. Nice.
Truly.
Thank you very much.
The champion has the highest average deaths of any champion in this league for a reason.
That was the most Hillsong thing I've ever seen in the VCS. Very nice to see. A little bit of a shout out there to Matt's support.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, see, this is what I wanted to see from Pun. Pun is just now going to be able to cipher off camps from Tamrio with no punishment whatsoever. Because what are you supposed to do if you're a summoner? Walk into the jungle blindly into this Olaf? Is not going to happen. Why do we need to replay on this?
We definitely need to
just there for no reason. The only thing you could say is that Tamrio burnt Flash for that play for no reason also. Is like he needed it to kick him in the right direction so that the bubble could land. But it feels like that was needless.
Yeah, the Flash kick looked a little bit like just an anti-tilt play, if you want to call it that. Yeah, just do something cool to untilt yourself, which, True. I mean, it wasn't necessary, but maybe it works. Maybe they actually untilt their jungler, who's, after having an amazing early game, had some questionable performances in bot side River and then also top lane Skirmish. But Tomrio still with a good game overall, I'd say. And we have another engaged Ego. Ego's
on
stuck.
Bottom side. Ultimate does land onto both. Now Ego's going to try to catch Slows here. He's going to be able to catch up the stun Q. Is going to land, so a couple extra auto attacks are going to come out. As 4 members are here, Yato is around as well. They spot him coming in.
Rio's coming.
Oh, big ultimate coming through from Yato as they're going to catch Emo before he's able to actually accomplish anything. Ultimate gets stumped into
no!
one. And that is going to be brought up, be saved by Artemis as well as they break tower aggro. What a juggle underneath the bottom tower and a perfectly executed dive from Cerberus.
Once again, the beautiful bot dive, like in the game before, a little bit later this time, but this was dicey. They had to manage so many dangerous spells there. Perfect time on the Callista ultimate. Yeah, top lane died in the meantime, by the way.
Really, man? We're still showing this.
Yikes.
How did he... Oh, never mind.
Yeah, the biggest problem here, the biggest misplay by Box, and maybe just a good play from the side of Cerberus as well, is going to the top side of the tower, that's the word, on the top side of the tower and actually getting close to Yado. So Yado could actually stun 2 people on the other side, because what they had to do was try to camp behind the tower and force Yado to overextend into them. Maybe the dive would still have worked, but this was just a little too easy. They all walked towards Yado and Yado just pressed one button and they all died. So a little bit of a misread from the side of Box, and now suddenly Cerberus up 12-7 in kills. This is one bloody game.
Yeah, the opening of the game looked okay. Again, I think Tamrio had an amazing beat on what was going on with Ego's kind of mindset to get
not again.
Top lane again.
Not again.
Summoner. Man, Pun is just farming this guy right now. This is... and there's... What are you supposed to do if you're Tamrio? Do you go top side and then ruin the entire bottom side of the map where you're already losing? Or do you continue on the bottom side of the map where maybe you can salvage or try to prevent anything worse from happening? Because Tamrio's just stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. All of his efforts from the beginning of the game just wasted to some extent, as there's nowhere for Box to play to.
And consider how many times he was in the top lane, all his efforts undone. And sure, Olaf is gonna win if the Olaf especially is a little bit of a better player than Jax in the CS department. But usually, I mean, we've seen this matchup internationally, and usually the Olaf doesn't get to a point where you can just insta-kill the Jax and just run him down and farm him for free. So we have to also point out that Summer is not having the greatest of games. Oh, Ronopi is somewhere. Ronopi is looking for something.
That is a really good play onto Slows. I completely drawn out of the fight. Now you just need a little bit of damage. Emo, will they be able to do anything? Ego is going to hang out here. Going to find Zodiac with a little bit of something. As Zodiac's completely out of mana. Slows also getting run down. Fun is going to try to get here. Nice pull coming in from, Ronopi. Ends up clutching the very tail end of that fight. Now, what are you supposed to do? If you're Emo, you're here with half health. You have to be super careful. Tom Rio is going to be here too. But are you really defending this? Are you even going to defend the second one? They might not push for it, but it feels like they had all the space in the world right there. Cerberus continues to dominate.
I mean, I know what I would do, looking at the timer. Right as they fell down in the mid lane, it was the clock hit 50 minutes. That would have been an instant FF from my side, because this is one tilting game for MB, especially after that good early game performance. They are just fumbling these setups and Slows. What are you doing over there? Why are you walking up to Annie? Everyone knows what Annie can do. And Slows, look at Slows. Oh, I think Slows just had a heart attack running into Pun. It's like, go away, and he still dies.
Very likely. Yeah, and then Ego was able to actually get kind of the soul and that little pull onto Zodiac as well, kind of close out the remainder of that play. As slowly over time, Cerberus are the ones whose pressure has continued to mount. We're actually in a position where Slow's early game advantage has all but disappeared over top of Artemis. Mid lane, you're almost on full Rabadons as second item for Yato, which is an insane second buy.
I call that a chat build. Holy, what is that?
What is it? Yeah, that build is nuts. It's just Rod of Ages direct to Rabadons because Yato is not scrapped for cash by any standard at this point in the game. He's just going to one-shot Slows in all circumstances.
Don't do it, guys. Don't. No,
we have done this 100 times. Okay. What? You got to throw it the other way, Emo. You have to throw it out of range of the Annie to make it work. We're still here fighting Yato with 3 people, and they lost that fight, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Yato could have actually played that much more aggressively. If you waited one more second, he could have gotten a triple stun and maybe eliminated one of the carries instead of ulting the Nami there. So, still some room for improvement on the Annie play, as Tom Rio has to evacuate. Because Ronopi, he's still a squishy boy, but he's also threatening with the CC, and with all the follow-up from his team, he can kind of do whatever he wants. This is one cool Nautilus game to play, because he basically entered for 15 minutes straight, just ran it down, died multiple times, but his team is so far ahead, he can just do it all over again, and no one cares.
Yeah, now that's kind of his whole shtick, is that he just hooks anybody he can, presses ultimate on somebody, and that's pretty much all he needs to do. As they're going to hunt down bottom tower now, Artemis just gets the free reign of having the Rift Herald alongside him. Shirley here to assist with a little bit of pushing power there. Also, Pun shifts into mid lane, which is really nice, because they're playing on 2 waves now. Makes it a little bit easier to try to push for even more. Pun is going to make sure that Slows stays respectful as well, because Slows' 1 axe could probably drop him to 3/4 health, so you have to be super careful in Pun. Is there a win condition here for Box at all? Is somebody going to be strong enough at some point to actually make something happen against Cerberus? I feel like Tom Rio has fallen off, hasn't been able to accomplish much. You think Slows is going to get to a point where Slows can maybe start killing people inside of fights as well?
Can't see it. Did you play Lucian into Annie?
No.
That's always a hard thing to do. I mean, you can poke with ultimate, but Annie can also just press E and get a 50% damage reduction or something. So you can just shower in that ultimate and laugh at you. So yeah, I can't see it happening, especially also with this team already being quite weak in the mid and late game. Their best point is the early game. The early game, to be fair to them, actually looked pretty good this game. But if you just sit back and look at the gold lead, in the last 5 minutes, we went from minus 1,000 gold lead to plus 10k. This is one of the most extreme snowballs I've ever seen.
Really big ultimate, actually knocking up a handful of people. That was just some random abilities thrown in. Artemis was kind of kept Ronopi on the back foot. Ronopi was able to go in, didn't actually commit summoner spells right there, so just a little bit of bullying going on. As Dragon is going to go over to Cerberus again, that's going to be their 3rd one. And like you had said, it feels like it was such a very swift execution of this game coming out from Cerberus, where 5 minutes ago this game was a lot more competitive than it was right now, when it's now over a 10,000 gold advantage at 18 minutes in the game. This might be the closing. Hun is on the back with 5 people sitting here. 1v5. He's absolutely going to do it. He finds 1. He gets enough damage. He's going to run out the other side as well. And what are you going to do about it? He is going to go down to Summoner, or actually, I think it was the Syndra ultimate that ended up chasing him more than anything else. But there are 2 members now stuck on this side of the map. They're going to look for Emo Emo doesn't have much. Going to get stunned up is Ego. Can they chase? No, they're not going to chase even more, as 3 members are able to live on the side of Vox Esports, which is actually a little surprising. Felt like they were almost dead to rights there for a minute, as Cerberus instead picks up in the mid lane to push down mid tower.
Yeah, Pan is having a little bit too much fun with this champion, but it's also good to see. He just ran into 5 people and actually killed someone. Yeah, playing against Olaf is a lot of fun, guys. It's especially if you don't have the tools to instantly kill him. Slows, forced to flash away from his own tower. This is kind of a good picture to demonstrate the state of affairs in this game. Look at Pan.
Look at him, man. He actually went after Slows, then turned for Zodiac, which the only reason he ends up dying is because the execute on Syndra. Actually, it was a little bit of tick damage at the very tail end from the Syndra that had popped out from Emo. I think it was Leandri's more than anything else. So getting outplayed by a single item. Ego also, I feel like if he had just cut up, then he wouldn't have actually got caught by that stun, and then he probably would have been able to chase down Emo for an additional kill. Not that it actually matters, because once again, the gold did not shift in the slightest. Olaf is still insanely strong. I'm still waiting to see Yato absolutely pump somebody with his anti-damage, because the Rabadons, just supplementing the Rabadons with an additional needlessly large. 2 more minutes and Rod of Ages is done. Like, Yato is going to goose somebody with this full
kit. How much AP does he have? What do you think? Something like 400?
Right now... yeah, probably closer to 500 at this point, because you have the extra needlessly, so you probably got like 2... No, it's probably closer to 400, something like that, because the needlessly will give you about 300 alongside the Rod and the Rabadons on its own, so yeah, it's probably closer to 400 right now.
Yeah, I want to see Yato flash in there, get the Tibbers, and insta-kill Slows. Or maybe Nami, that's a possibility too. As we have the Baron on the cards now, and yeah, Box is gonna try, but there's a big pun on the side, and Yato on the other side. Yato, let's go!
Oh my goodness, and it's an instant execute of the Lucian. What are you supposed to do about that circumstance? As Baron goes down, Summoner's gonna get chased as well, and everybody on the side of Box Esports that's alive, they're just running away. Like, what are you supposed to do here? Like, there's very, very little for you to actually be able to accomplish. You cannot take a fight. You can't do anything else. Instead, they're just going to watch as minions walk up their mid lane, as they can't even walk into their own base directly to stop them in any capacity. Pun went up to topside to continue pushing up there as well. This is Cerberus on a masterclass game number 2 in a row, making sure that Vox Esports knows their place in the VCS.
Yeah, they are unfortunately quite outclassed so far. In the 8 games we've seen, MBE has shown signs of life. Some of their players have shown some decent performances. This game, Tom Rio with a very good early game, and even Slows and Zodiac together in the bot lane looked quite competitive into Artemis Ronopi. So some positives to take away, but overall this team is just not on the same level. They can't compete. And especially once the game goes past 10 minutes and a little bit of the volatility is gone from the early ganks, this team's just continues to very quickly fall behind. And this game is the biggest demonstration of that, where in the span of 5 minutes, as we pointed out earlier, it went from 1k gold lead to minus 10k. And this is, once again, they're trying to approach the Baron, right? They know the Baron is almost down, so they're already late to the Baron. Yato manages to only hit 1 member, even though all 5 of them were clumped together, so actually quite a bad ultimate from Yato. But he eliminates the ADC instantly, so it doesn't matter. And at this point, Box... So they try to contest the Baron, but weren't decisive enough, and then they still die. So it's the worst of both situations you could ever hope for. It's one of those classic, don't do anything until you're forced to do it, and then it's too late anyway, and you die anyway. So really, some of those classic mistakes that we see lower level teams make, unfortunately.
It's also crazy. Everything about this play worked out so well for Cerberus, because not only did they get a decent fight, not only did they get the Baron buff, not only did they push down mid and top inhibitor, they get a perfect setup for the Dragon so they can get Infernal Soul readily available. As Round-Up gets knocked away, he's diving into the base. Emo is going to get knocked up, is going to get brought down by Pun, who's just running at Slows and running at Zodiac. On the opposite side, Tomrio trying to make something happen. Hooked in is, it's Sumner, who's going to go down. Pun underneath the literal Nexus towers gets a triple kill. As Cerberus, outside of the Tom Rio 4 kills at the beginning of this game, they have looked infallible against the side of Vox Esports, as they are going to absolutely close this one out in a swift 2-0, 2 sub 25 minutes. I guess the Union reps might have swapped favorite targets this year, as Cerberus making sure to hit their mark.